Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the must pick or ban, or the strongest champions right now for patch 7.17. So we're going to start off with support here, and then we'll make our way up to the top lane. So for support in this patch, it didn't really get changed too much. Right now, Janna, Blitzcrank, and then Sona and Soraka are still the strongest picks for support in 7.17. Now, Ardent Censer, it did get a little bit of a change in this patch, and a lot of you might think that this would nerf these support champions, but the changes to Ardent Censer honestly were not very bad at all. They actually kind of buffed the early game on the Ardent Censer, and then it nerfed the late game. So because Ardent Censer is a good rush item, it's still going to be great. Like, you're not getting Ardent Censer to play for the late game. You're getting Ardent Censer to get it early on into the game to give your AD carry a really big power spike early on. And therefore, since they buffed the early game on Ardent Censer, it's still a great item in this patch, and it's really not going to affect Janna, Soraka, or Sona. So unless there are some more nerfs in the coming patches, then you can probably expect Janna, Soraka, and Sona to be very strong picks for a few patches to come. And then for Blitzcrank, he's the only support here that's not a heal or shield support, but he's a really good pick against these type of champions that do kind of want to just sit back and farm in the laning phase and get to their Ardent Censer. Blitz can do great against them because you're going to take Ignite as Blitzcrank, and then Janna, Soraka, and Sona, they're all very squishy champions, so if you can hit that one hook in lane against Janna, then you're just going to be able to burst her down, or you're going to at least get advantage in the laning phase, so you can just look to zone them out and just get a CS lead in lane. So overall, Blitz, even though he doesn't build Ardent Censer, he is a good pick because he does have good lane pressure against these type of supports that are being played right now. So for the AD carries right now in this patch, in my opinion, there's a pretty clear top 3 or top 4 ADs for 7.17, and these include Twitch, Tristana, Kog'Maw, and Draven. So Draven's an AD that did get a bit of a nerf in this patch, but the nerf is not going to affect his laning phase and his strong early game. They only nerfed his passive to where when you die now as Draven, you are going to lose more of your passive stack. So this is more so going to affect a less experienced Draven player and a Draven player that just doesn't play his early game very well. If you're not dying with Draven, then this nerf isn't going to affect you at all. So I still think in 7.17, he's going to be a top tier AD carry if you can play him correctly. And then Twitch, Trist, and Kog'Maw, they're all kind of similar in the sense that they benefit a lot from these Ardent Censer supports being in the meta right now, especially Twitch and Kog'Maw. Twitch and Kog, they do rely a little bit more on having some peel from their team, and because we're seeing a lot of Soraka, Sona, and also Janna right now, it just makes it a lot easier for these ADs that don't have mobility to just have a much stronger presence in the game. If you got that peel from a Janna, then you can just play more aggressive, and you're also going to get a lot earlier of a power spike with these more so scaling AD carries. Like Twitch usually turns on at around 2 to 3 items, as well as Kog'Maw, but if you got an Ardent Censer rushing support, you're going to have an even earlier power spike into the game, and it will allow you to transition really nicely into that late game to where you really start to do a ton of damage. Now, if we take a look at the mid lane for this patch, Mal's, Twisted Fate, and Fizz are 3 picks in the mid lane that I think are very strong. For Malzahar, he's just a very simple mid lane pick. Press R and you win a lot of games with this champion. There's not too much to him, so if you're auto-filled to mid lane, or if you're just looking for a very easy pick, then I'd be playing Mal's for sure. For Twisted Fate, with a lot of these other AP mages that tend to do pretty well against him getting nerfed in previous patches, it does free up Twisted Fate a little bit. It allows him to have a bit of a stronger laning phase, and he can get to his level 6 a bit easier to where he really starts to impact the game. If you can get to 6 STF and you haven't died yet in lane, then you can really impact the map with your ultimate. He's one of the best roaming mid laners right now, so if you can just constantly shove the wave in as TF and look to go for roams, then he's going to be one of the most influential mid laners in 7.17. And then right now, I think Fizz is very sleeper OP. He's a great pick against a lot of the AP mages that did end up getting nerfed. So picks like Talia, Syndra, Orianna, he just does really well into a lot of these immobile mage champions. He also did get that small buff to his E last patch. So with the buff and with the nerf to a lot of the other champions, it does bring Fizz up. And I actually think he's a great pick right now in a lot of these meta matchups. So for the jungle in 7.17, I'm going to give you guys 5 picks here because I think the jungle right now is just very strong. There's a lot of really good tank champions that can be played in this patch right now. So these picks are going to include Sejuani, Cho'Gath, Maokai, Warwick, and Rammus. Honestly, I think all 5 of these picks right now are ban worthy. Sejuani, in my opinion, is the best out of these 5. I just think her kit is extremely good for solo queue. She's got a ton of CC in her kit. She also does a lot of damage if she does go for Warmogs. Like, her damage that she can output with her W, because it does scale with her HP, is just insanely good, and you can carry games by building full tank Sejuani and still basically being able to one-shot the enemy AD carry. For Cho'Gath and Maokai, they're very strong right now with Righteous Glory and also with Cinderhulk. Unless Righteous Glory ends up getting a nerf or the champions get nerfed more, then I can see these picks being very strong for a few patches to come. The Righteous Glory on them just basically covers up their main weakness of being kited a little bit and not being able to reach the back line, but you just pop that on Cho'Gath, you pop your stone plate, you ult the enemy for like 1.5k true damage, so it's pretty brain dead right now in this patch with both of these champions, so they're just very easy to play, very strong tank picks for 7.17. For Warwick, I would be picking him if you do want to play a jungler that does provide a little bit more consistent damage. With Cho'Gath and Maokai, they are more tank oriented. They don't do as much damage as some of the other junglers, but if you're looking for a jungler that is still really tanky but can provide a bit more damage and a bit more consistent damage, then I think Warwick is a very good Cinderhulk jungle pick as well for this patch. And then Rammus is just a very good pick if the enemy team does have a few AD threats. Righteous Glory on Rammus is insanely good too. This item just synergizes great with a few of these jungle picks in this patch, and I think it synergizes like the best with Rammus just because you cannot kite a Rammus if he's coming at you with his Q up, and with a Righteous Glory, you could just super easily get onto the target you want to, and if your flash is up, like there's literally no counterplay to a Rammus coming at you with that Righteous Glory, unless the enemy team does have a Janna. So if you are looking to play Rammus, then I would just ban out Janna and then you're pretty good to go, because I think this champion is extremely good for 7.17. So for top lane in this patch here, to round out the video, Pantheon, Akali, and Maokai are 3 of the strongest picks for solo queue. So Pantheon, especially in the lower elos, you just take Ignite on the champion. If the enemy does not start Doran's shield, then your kill pressure in the laning phase is insanely high. You just look to poke the enemy down with your Q. If they go too aggressive, then you just point and click stun them, you kill them for first blood, and then you just get a snowball going with the champion. His roaming potential also makes him a great pick for solo queue because he's one of the few top laners where you can actually transition your lead and you can look to roam around with that ultimate and get your other lanes ahead. So overall, he's just a very solid pick for solo queue. And then for Akali right now in this patch, I still think she's very sleeper OP in the top lane. Her matchups right now are some of the best for any top laner. A lot of the most picked top laners right now, Akali does very well against. Picks like Camille, Yasuo, Gnar, Nasus. There's a lot of picks right now that Akali can do great against in the laning phase. There are a few picks though as well that she does struggle against, like Pantheon, but if you can get a favorable matchup with Akali in the laning phase and you can get a snowball going, then like Pantheon, she snowballs out of control and you can just really take over a game with Akali. And then Maokai is just your stable top lane pick, to where if you don't really play top lane a lot, or if you're just looking for a good tank top lane pick, then Maokai is probably the best choice for 7.17. You can just farm up with this champion in the laning phase. You don't really have to do too much, and then once you get your Righteous Glory and once you start team fighting, you're probably going to be a lot more impactful than the enemy top laner, just because you do provide a ton of crowd control. You've got great peel in your kit, and you also have pretty high base damage as well with Maokai. So if you're new to top lane, or if you get auto-filled top lane and Maokai is not banned, then I'd be looking to pick him because he's just a reliant pick that's always going to be useful no matter how hard you feed in the laning phase. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. Those are going to be the best bans and the best picks right now for patch 7.17. So hopefully this video does help you out and it does give you a little bit more insight onto the patch to what you should be looking to pick and what you should be looking to ban. So with that being said, guys, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.